How are we doing on time, Tammy?
We're ready. It's the top of the hour.
Let's do it. You going to introduce it, Tammy?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone, to the Learn Webinar Online Learning Games Drag and Drop. Our President, William Draves, will be your presenter today. Please feel free to type questions into the box. We're going to ask you some questions today and get some feedback. So enjoy the webinar, and we are recording this. Take it away, Bill.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for everyone who's here. We have a record crowd, standing room only. Thanks so much for your interest. I'm as excited about online learning games as you apparently are. So welcome here. Just to reiterate the webinar, want to make you let you know that the webinar is brought to you by UGotClass, which is now featuring drag and drop games. We want every Learn member to make UGotClass your primary online course provider. All of our top partners say we have superior quality, and drag and drop is one reason. And because we've incorporated the drag and drop option into the online classroom, if you want your own online classroom for your own blended or online courses, we are having a special, $199 for your first online classroom. You just email Tammy within the next week saying you want one, and then all the paperwork can happen later. Well, again, welcome. Here's today's agenda. Part 1, what a drag and drop activity is. Part 2, an overview of how to build one. And Part 3, how to design a drag and drop game. Roughly 20 minutes for each part. If you're just interested in knowing what it is, and that's all you're interested in, well, just stay on for 20 minutes. You won't bother any of us moving forward with the agenda. The program here is for you. So let's get started with Part 1, what a drag and drop activity is. Essentially, what we're talking about is the learner with her or his cursor moves an object and places it on the background. Here are 3 sample backgrounds. These are drag and drops, I think, for kids. But I really like the design. I like the color, all of that. What the research shows is that when you move the cursor, you learn more than if you just heard about it or read about it. So what this is, it's a learning game. It's an activity or an exercise where a learner moves the cursor, moves objects, that is, drags objects, and then drops them on the background. Here are some drag and drop games for adults, and we're going to show you a number of different drag and drop games. As I mentioned, they enhance learning. We created our first drag and drop game 10 years ago. And so I've been showing instructors and teachers how to do and have them do a drag and drop game in our online courses for 10 years. And then they all liked it, and the first question was, how do we build one of these? And for 10 years, I have not had an answer to that. But now we have found a site and are now building them for a license of $100 a year to build as many, I think, as many as we want. And so we're going to show you that a little bit later on. I was researching how drag and drop is a good learning tool, and I came across the National Science Foundation, which is actually using drag and drop in development of new cancer drugs. I'm not developing the cure to cancer, and you're not either, but just to let you know that this is a credible e-tool for you. It's a great tool for online courses, of course. That's where it was developed for. And then blended courses where you have face-to-face meetings, but you also engage your learners online. But the last 3 months, I have been showing drag and drop games in my in-person seminars and institutes, and having people in the room play the drag and drop game, even though it's a face-to-face environment. And people were so engaged in it that I'm going to incorporate drag and drop in all of my in-person institutes, seminars, presentations as well. So I think this is a tool that you can use in all three delivery formats: online, blended, and in person. Here's, we're going to show you a little bit more how it works, but here's a screenshot of one that I developed on the Brain. And the idea there is you take the words down below there and you move them to those boxes there and get them correctly positioned there in the box. So that's an example of one of the drag and drop games that I've developed. Here's another one. It's about girls and boys. It's for teachers to drag and drop those phrases down below. We're actually going to try to have you play one of these games in a few minutes. Notice that my designs aren't nearly as artistic as those first few that I showed you, but no one has commented about that. So, I mean, you can make yours as whippy visually as you want, but it's not necessary for people to learn to have it maximum design artistic-wise. Here's another one that I designed. It's not for any learning, teaching purpose. But I really like it, and I'll tell you why later. It's basically because we're dropping images on image is why I like it. In this game, the idea is you're canoeing on a river, that's the blue stuff, and you need to stop and camp for the night. Well, what do you do? Where do you put your canoe? Where do you set up your tent? Where do you chop your firewood? And then in what order do you do it? So you would drag the objects to where they belong. This is where they belong. You don't want to put your canoe too close to the water. You don't want to set up your tent on a hill, etc. And then this is the correct order that you want to do this. You don't want to start fishing before you set up your tent. Darkness coming, things could go wrong. So when you're done doing it, you see there a check box in the lower right-hand corner. Then you click on that, and then the computer scores it. So that in a few minutes is what drag and drop is all about. And now we're going to get excited and pioneer a drag and drop exercise in a webinar. So you all are involved in having you or your programs teach females and males, and there are different gender characteristics that are good to know about. We got 21 of them. We don't have time for you to do all 21. But what we're going to ask you to do is to vote with our poll on these 4. And then I'm going to drag these 4 to the box that gets the most votes. And then we're going to see how well you did on this. So, Tammy, do you want to initiate the first poll? And you have 4 options. This characteristic is more for females, more for males, for both sexes, or for neither. Obviously, everything for some people is going to be both, but there are gender characteristics for 80% of us. So that's what we want in the females and the males. Is this apply to 80% of us, not the 20% that are crossover genders, which happens in everything. So how are we doing, Tammy?
The poll is posted. We just need to get people to vote, and I'll tell you right now, 83% are saying males, 13% are saying females, 7% both. They're still coming in. Boy, overwhelmingly right now, everyone is showing males. 72% for males, 11% for females, 9 for neither, 9 for both.
Okay. Well, in 5 seconds, let's close that poll, Tammy, and go to the second question.
Great. I think we've got everyone weighed in on this one. We've got 71% for males, 10% for females, 10% for both, and 9% for neither. I will close that poll. And what's the next one? Do you want to do the dopamine rewards learning poll?
Tell me what the first question was.
The first question was overall lower test scores.
Oh, okay. And they said 74% said males.
Yes.
Okay. And can you see this?
I
put the overall test scores in the male?
Yes, we can see exactly what you're doing. So which question would you like to ask next? The greater spatial ability?
Sure. Greater spatial ability.
We're going to launch this poll, and if you could please answer the poll as you think is appropriate, and we'll give you a few minutes to get that done. Great. Here we go. They're coming in. Boy, we've got a tie right now between males and females on this one. And thank you so much for participating in our poll. This really helps and lets us share with you what everyone thinks at this time, and then Bill can explain to us how things really work. Boy, we've got just about a tie. We've got 42% males, 44% females, 8% both, 5% neither. So the females won this one just barely.
All right. Well, let's close that poll, and let's move on to the third question.
All righty. You want to do the dopamine rewards question next?
Sure.
All right. We'll launch this poll. Same answer options. Let us know what you think is the most appropriate answer. Boy, 80% say both. We'll give them a few more minutes here, a few more seconds to vote.
How many votes? Do we know how many people are voting?
It only shows me a percentage of how many people are voting. It's showing me that 80% of our attendees have already voted on this.
Oh, 80% have already voted. Okay,
yes.
Good. Well, let's go to the fourth one.
Okay, and that one was 67% for both.
Waste 30% of study time?
67% of both males and females on the dopamine rewards learning poll.
Oh, okay, good. So now let's go to the fourth question.
We're going to the wasted study time question poll. Here we go. The poll is launched. If you could make your selections. Wow, already 54% of you have voted. This one's pretty close, 47 to 40%. We're just about there. Wow. This one is all over the map. We've got 48% for males, 39% for both.
All right.
Yes, that's our final conclusion is males, 48%, 39% for both, 10% for females, and 3% for neither on the WASTE's 30% of study time poll.
All right. So are you ready? Can we close that poll and see how we did here?
Absolutely.
All right. These are educators now, right?
That's right.
Here we go. Oh, we got 3. We missed 3, and we got 1 correct. Well, yes, dopamine does reward learning for both sexes. So we have a little bit, this is not unusual. Most educators need sex education. And so we're doing this because everybody's interested in gender. So that is how it works. If you're interested in the correct answers, I don't know if I can go back. The correct answers are greater spatial ability, that is males. 80% of males have greater spatial ability than females, according to Doreen Kimura, researcher in Canada related to testosterone. Overall, the lower test scores, that would be neither. Males and females overall test the same. That's for boys, girls, adults, anybody. And then waste 30% of study time, that would be females. Females spend 30% more time studying than males, but don't learn more because their overall test scores are the same. So interestingly, in our online classes, we teach faculty, and the faculty break down along the same lines on gender. That is, the males in the online courses, male faculty will spend 30% less time than the females in our online courses, but score the same. Thank you very much for that. That's an example of drag and drop. So nice job playing the game. And we are just about at the point where we will take questions. So we're going to take questions on what is this thing, and then we will move on to part 2, how to build one. So Tammy, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions yet, but if you have questions, please type your question in the question box that you see on the right side of your screen. I will read the questions and Bill will provide the answers to you. So feel free to type those in as we're going through the webinar too, and we'll pause and read your questions as we go. No questions so far.
That's no problem. We'll move on to part 2. We have plenty of time for questions at the end of the webinar, and we always have people asking questions at the end of the webinar. So no problem. Let's take a look at how you build in drag and drop exercise. And I'm not advocating WebDucate. I'm just saying I found it. It's $100 a year. We actually did spend money and time and had an online media expert review our design for how a drag and drop would be built. And we came up with the exact same process and procedure as this organization has. So I'm thinking it's going to be pretty similar no matter how and what software you use. So what we're seeing here is going inside this particular software called WebDucate. Their drag and drop is called Dragster. And step number 1 is, well, you create a title and you give it a name. But then you create a background. Notice in the first part you saw different backgrounds. The background for a single drag and drop game does not change. And so what you do is you drag objects onto the background. And so when you create one, or I create one, we simply create an image and do it any way you want with any level of expertise that you want. Put it on your computer and then browse your computer and upload the background. So for instance, in the game that you just played, this is the background. And so what I did is I created that background primitively using PowerPoint, but and then I uploaded that image there to the system. The next thing that you do is that you choose between whether you're going to drop words or phrases onto the background or whether you're going to drop visual images. In this particular software, you can do one or the other. You can't do both. When you saw that camping one, I got visuals of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how I put numbers into visuals. Here, on this screen, if you choose words, then you simply type the text in for each different object that you're going to drop. So you saw dopamine rewards learning. I just typed that into here. And then I went to the next text box and I put greater spatial ability, etc. If you're going to put in images, you browse and select the images that you're going to do. Even if you're not going to build one tomorrow, knowing how to build one, these simple steps, gives you an idea of how you visualize it, how you design it, how you plan it, how you think about it. So at some point in time in the future, you or your program are going to want to do drag and drop. It's just so inexpensive and so great for everybody. So understanding how it works will help you. The next thing you do is you decide where the correct area is to drag each object. And in this software, you can also have another area called close, like it was horseshoes. And then there's obviously an area that is clearly wrong. So here, where I had an object where the correct answer was females, I took the cursor and the software just allows you to make a shaded area on what that correct answer is. And then dopamine rewards learning, well, that's for both, and I designated both as the area there. And then down below, you can see, define the correct area, define the close area, and then everything else is incorrect. So then you give a few instructions, you give it a name. If you want to get fancy and give feedback after the person has clicked on it, you can. But basically, those are the steps. The work is really in designing it, in thinking about it. For some reason, maybe because I'm doing this webinar, I was dreaming about trying to create a drag and drop, my next one, last night. And that's really the harder part, is your mental work in creating it. The technical aspect, you don't need a techie, you don't need software, other than the software here on the company that you're going to choose to do it. And then there you can preview the activity. and then you can host it. You need to host it. And in this particular software, there's two options for hosting it. They can host it for you, or you can create a link to your own server, your institution. If you're with an institution, you probably already have a server, and you can host it on your institution's server. That's what we're doing at Learn, but I have no technical knowledge, so I don't know if anyone is easier, better, simpler. There's certainly not much bandwidth. There's not much problem with it being hosted on your server. So those are basically, that's an overview of how you build a drag and drop activity. Once again, we're going to pause and see if you have any questions, and then we're going to talk about how you can dream about drag and drop in your sleep and design one. So let's just pause for and see, Tammy, do we have any questions at this point?
We do have some questions, Bill. Lisa asks, you said that research shows people learn better with drag and drop activities. Can you tell us what some of those studies are?
Well, the leading one that I found out about it in the year 2000 was from an e-learning expert named William Horton, or Bill Horton, H-O-R-T-O-N. If you Google William Horton or Bill Horton, you will get his site, and he has several books on e-learning as a whole. So that's the authority from whom I heard it. I did try to do a little quick research yesterday. Certainly there's no research that I know of that says it's not more effective. Obviously, lots of people are doing this, and the National Science Foundation is saying they can do it via research. Yeah, it's a great question. We're going to try to do some more research to see, like what percent learning. Yeah, I don't know. I can say that there is lots of research going on with e-tools in general. And there is lots of research on multimedia and e-tools and how they do enhance student learning. They, of course, enhance student engagement, which is a big part of learning. So we know that. Well, the other thing we should look at is when you do hands-on, even in the physical environment, are you learning more? The answer is yes. So cursor is a variation of the hands-on. It's a great question. I should have 10 literature references on the whole thing. That'll be my task post-webinar, is to do more research on the research.
Great. Our next question is, can the correct zones be irregular shapes?
Yeah. The answer is yes, but you know, I'm so illiterate as a techie that my manual dexterity combined with everything, so I'm going to say yes to that, and that you will figure that out, or clearly the software provider will tell you how to do irregular and what the boundaries are of the correct ones. I know you can do a circle. I just don't know how to do a circle.
Great. Our next question, does this work for finger-pointing devices such as tablets and PhDs?
Wow, great question. I'm going to say yes. I have never seen anything where using your finger to move the cursor. I'm going to say anything that where you can move the cursor and then click, do one click. That is, I'm holding it here. Is going to work.
Great. And question from Sarah, are there any free online tools for drag and drop?
You know, I don't know. That's a great question. This is the one we found, and I don't know if there are free ones out there. We wanted to purchase something simply because there's no free lunch, and we didn't want anybody bothering our students or feel more comfortable paying something for it and having it be commercial free. So there might be out there. You would just want to Google free drag and drop and find the software out there. I can tell you when you Google drag and drop, you get about 200 illustrations of possible and of drag and drop exercises. So there's a lot out there.
Our next question is from Marcia. She says paying $100 a year gives you access to all these gaming elements to create professionally appearing games?
Well, you have to create them, Marcia. This is just one piece of software, and that's what their price is. And so far, they have not said there's a limit to how many I can create. But these are all ones that I created. So when you get this license, then you have to create the drag and drop game. Now, you may just want to use one that's already out there, and I have not explored that, but my guess is that you can Google drag and drop games and use other people's drag and drop games. You know, and I don't know what the requirements are and what the stipulations are. Give it a shot. Certainly with this program, you have a 30-day free trial, and I'm thinking everybody else does too. So go out there and explore it.
And I think Dr. Bernhardt's question requires the same answer. He asks, what are other providers besides WebGucate Dragster? Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that. It took me 10 years to find this one, and I love it. So this is what I got. It's doing the job for me, so I'm at this point not looking further. Again, do a couple of different Google searches. That's how I found WebGucate. I did see another one. I can't remember what it was. I didn't particularly like it. This was exactly what I wanted. So, yeah, do some Google searches, and you'll find what's out there.
Great questions. That's all for the questions right now, Bill.
Great. Well, we're right on schedule. We've done what a drag and drop game is and a quick overview of how you build one. Now for me, this is the tough part, how to design one. And that's all on you. Again, we're right on schedule. We'll take a few minutes to discuss this, and then we'll have questions about anything. Here's on reflection, how to design drag and drop games. The first thing you want to do is brainstorm a number of ideas. The more ideas you have, if you have just one idea, that's not going to hurt anything. But sometimes your initial idea doesn't work out. So brainstorm a number of ideas. You know, if you do a Google search for drag and drop games, you're going to see 100 of them. A simple one is words on what I call words. That is, the background is essentially words, and you're dragging words on words. A crossword puzzle would be a very simple example, at least from the brainstorming mental work. If you just did a jigsaw crossword puzzle, that would be very simple to conceive. A Jeopardy game would be another one. Brainstorm whatever ideas you have. And then the second stage is to simplify, simplify, simplify. When you get an idea, you're going to create like a Steven Spielberg simulation Second Life gaming operation that competes with War in the Worlds in your own mind. And that's not what drag and drop is about. Drag and drop is very simple. The technology is simple. The concept is simple. You can't, as far as I know, create animation. You can't have more than one background. You can't, it's not multiplayer where you're collaborating with somebody else, as far as I know. And so your mind is going to race and create all sorts of thises and that's. And that's fine, but then you're going to want to simplify, simplify, simplify. That is, I'm dragging an object onto a background. There needs to be an area where it's correct and one where it's not correct. And if the answer is it all depends, you know, we got to rethink it. If there's more than one place where it's correct, we need to either designate that or rethink about it. These are all things you start to think about when you design it. So brainstorm, and again, if it's only one idea, that's fine. It could work out right off the bat. But if you brainstorm more than one idea, you're going to have a better thought process. You're going to be able to simplify better. You're going to be able to create one that works. Certainly, I would recommend creating a simple one in the beginning just to create one and see it work. But for all of them, you're going to have to simplify. And then creating a background is half mental, and then, of course, it is the first step to creating one. So after you've brainstormed an idea and you're ready to move forward and you think you've simplified it, then you want to start thinking about what would the background look like. And so that is the next thing that you're going to want to brainstorm. There. And that moves you into actually doing it. So create a background is the last stage in your mental figuring it out, and the first stage in actually building it. So you would create a background just like we showed you here. And then the next step would be develop objects or words, either images or words. Maybe you're with a system that can do both. The one I have, you choose. And there on the right is my next learning drag and drop game that I'm mentally doing. When I was growing up, Chutes and Ladders was a big board game. So I want to do a drag and drop that has chutes and ladders, where if you go up the ladder, you get to where you're going, and if you're at the chute, it takes you back. And so I want to create phrases that either move you ahead or put you behind. So I originally thought about the background as being chutes and ladders and then moving the objects. Now I'm thinking about the words are on the background and you move the chutes or the ladder to say whether this particular thing sets you back or moves you forward. So either way, the next step is to develop objects. And then the fifth step is to play with scenarios. Okay, is there anything I forgot? Is there anything I didn't include? Is there any way someone can say it depends? Is there any way someone can say whatever they want and essentially dismantle the conceptual nature, the accuracy of your whole game? And then the last thing is to determine the locations of where you want them to go. So this is, as I say, for me anyway, this is, I don't know, 85 to 90% of building the drag and drop game. as you can see, mine aren't particularly professionally done. They're all ones that I do myself. And so that's actually doing it and building it isn't a big thing for me. Thinking about it and designing it mentally, for me, is 85 to 90% of the work. Some of you are smarter than I am, so it'll go easier for you. But that's how you design it. And before we're right on schedule, we're going to move into open-ended questions. But I just want to remind you that the webinar is brought to you by UGotClass. We need each one of you to make UGotClass your primary online course provider. Just email Zek today, zek@learn.org, and we'll give you information. We'll tell you, answer your questions, whatever you want. But we want your community, your audience, to have superior quality online learning, and your fellow colleagues, your fellow Learn members say that's us. And then once again, if you want your own online classroom, you're not going to find anything that's a better deal. You can get them for free, and then you devote 1,000 hours to building it, like with Moodle, or you can spend thousands of dollars. But being able to have your own online classroom and not need a techie, not need any technical expertise, not needing any software, not needing a server, you're not going to get a better deal than this. It's got 15 years of experience out there with the toughest audience in the world, faculty in higher education. So it's held up for thousands of online learners. So that's the deal there. So Tammy, let's see if there's any other questions.
We have a question from Kathy. She asks, can a drag and drop game track and record individual student scores?
The answer is yes. I'll just stop there. The answer is yes.
Excellent. Good question. We don't have any other questions right now. If you do have questions, please type them in the question box. Emily asks, are there any examples of implementing one of the drag and drop items into an LMS such as Moodle?
Yes, and there are. And you can either contact the platform provider like Moodle or Blackboard and ask them what drag and drop they currently support, or you can go to drag and drop vendors and ask them what platforms they are currently integrated with. I can tell you that platforms are integrating drag and drop into them. I can tell you that this is an example of where online blended learning is going in terms of the technology of it. The leading technology person in my book is Les Howells at the University of Wisconsin. He's going to be doing a session on e-tools at the Learn annual conference. He's taught for us for 5 years in the Certified Faculty Developer designation and program. And what he says is this is the way e-tools are going. That is, easy to use, don't need a techie, fast to build, and then there's lots of pressure on Moodle, Blackboard, all of the other platforms to integrate e-tools into their existing platforms. So great question, and that's where the whole field is going.
Christine asks, what is the first step in getting started? She says, once the game is...
question, Christine. What?
She goes on to say, once the game is designed, do I have it forever or only until the paid time for Webducate?
Oh, well, clearly the answer is only as long as you continue to pay the license fee to the software provider that is doing it. And that would be an interesting question to ask Blackboard and Moodle, whether or not you need an additional fee if that drag and drop is incorporated in their platform. And then the other aspect of your question is, well, you know, is it going to last forever? That's a great question. Now, clearly, you have the background and the objects on your computer. You put them on your computer before you build it. So if I was going to transfer any of these drag and drops into another drag and drop software provider, it would only take me minutes because they all function basically the same way. So it would only take me minutes to recreate this on another drag and drop platform or software system.
All right. Tom Lothar is asking, is this a standalone product?
Yes, as far as I know, Tom. Well, that goes back to whether it's integrated with other platforms. So, A, you can get it standalone. B, you can ask the software provider or your platform provider what drag and drop are integrated into their platform. I'm assuming that's what you mean by integrated. If you're meaning, oh, does this integrate with my student accountability and you know, measuring of their online learning, you would have to consult either one of those two entities, your platform provider or the drag and drop provider. I mean, anything can be integrated with anything. It's just a matter of how much does it cost. So could this be integrated with your customized LMS? Certainly, but what would be the cost to do that? And only they can answer that.
Great. That's all the questions that we have so far.
Well, I did better on the last questions than the first few, Tammy. Well, I'll have to bone up on those first few questions. But again, thank you so much for everybody for being here. We're going to wrap it up here if there are no more questions and just say thanks for being here. Thanks for your interest. And Learn is here on the cutting edge. Learn is the world's premier online expert with the certified online instructor, the certified faculty developer, and we are creating a new designation that will appear in 2015 on certificate in programming online. Oh, and then we got a fourth one, certified blended instructor that premieres this fall. So we've got the books, we've got the classes, we've got the training, and we've got 15 years experience leading the field with online. So let us know. Tell us what we can help you out with. And with that, I want to thank Tammy for another great job with the webinar, and I want to thank all of you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again, either in person or online. So without any further ado, this is Bill Draves. Thanks for being here. Glad to have you along.